in essence, from Felipe Massa's obviously a horrific escape, or near escape anyway, from when the spring hit him last year at the Hungaroring in Formula 1. And so now they're saying that carbon helmets are going to be safer, and they're mandatory over here, not yet in America, but certainly in all the FIA and the Le Mans series in Europe they are. And every driver out there, whether he's in a GT car or in a prototype, will be wearing a HANS device, or if he isn't, he's got away with it. And they're sharp-eyed, eagled, or sharp-eyed rather, marshals down there who watch every driver change. You have to sign a little piece of paper to say you're going to be going into the car. They take your driver number and everything, so I'm sure they'd have noticed if he wasn't wearing a HANS device.
And certainly I know, at least in America, that the HANS device has been in operation since 2003. They've been required, so it's been around quite a long time actually, and every year I've driven it in Le Mans I've had to have one. So.
But Liz, this one's for you, I think, from Shane. Says, do you think safety car rules should now be changed to one safety car at Le Mans after the debacle earlier on?
In a word, yes, in my opinion, because when there's one safety car, you can just about manage it and actually plan your race strategy around it. And I think it ends up being, you know, fairer for everybody. But really, we see that in so many other racetracks. We've got one safety car, and it works absolutely fine. But the only reason they use more here is because it's such a long circuit. But I don't think I've ever been here and not had it go wrong some way or another with multiple safety cars. Just somebody will always end up having their race go not quite the way they'd hoped. So definitely I think it would be worth a shot. I think it would make everything a bit more fair. I think we would eliminate a lot of the issues we have and have good clean racing.
There's another one here from Davey UK. Guys, what's with the blue flashing light in the front windscreen? Johnny?
I have no idea.
Me neither.
In fact, Carlton was asking us that just earlier, and I haven't got a clue.
I know, I think I can answer this, in fact.
Oh, there we go.
wow.
See, this is where he did it. He's going to make himself look good now. Go on then, Mark.
If you
The
go
stage is yours.
If you go to the Nürburgring 24 hours, most cars have these blue lights in the front screens, and if you come up behind a slower car, you can actually switch this on, so you get a blue flash. The car ahead is a way of trying to pass them.
They actually get it on their dash, do they?
Yeah.
So you can actually activate lights on his dash?
Like no, on your dash. So he sees in his mirrors that you've got a blue flashing light. He thinks you're going to breathalyze him. And
Well, surely just the fact that every single faster car has got a button usually that you push that flashes the very big headlights you have would be better than a blue little flashing light on a dash.
I mean, they must know he's coming, so I can't quite work that one out.
Bright white flashing lights is usually a giveaway.
The Nürburgring 24 hours, that's definitely in the system. I've been there enough to see that. So anyway, let's get on with the racing. We've just heard that Danny Watts still leading LMP2. Lawrence Tomlinson singing his praises when he was driving him. And Danny has done such a good job. I mean, he's taken the fight to the team that developed the HPT car. That's Highcroft Racing. And they at the moment have a lap in hand, and Danny's on board that car at the moment.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job. I mean, obviously Danny's a fantastic professional driver, but then also Johnny Kane started that car in the race and did a fantastic double stint and got it out in front and really broke David Brabham's kind of initial fight, because initially they were quite close together for the first sort of few laps, and then Brabs dropped back a little bit, and then I noticed that Marino was also struggling quite a bit to keep the same pace as Johnny Kane was at the end of his, and also in the early part of Danny Watts' stint. And now looking with Marco Werner in the car, although they're still sort of maintaining a similar sort of gap to them in front, they're still lapping on average about 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap slower. So I think this is all going to really boil down to Nick Leventis and obviously what he can do in this car. And I think Nick obviously owns the team, runs the team, is also a driver in the team, and a very much on a steep learning curve here at Le Mans, and certainly in this kind of car. And it'll be interesting to see if he can handle this kind of pressure, and I hope for his sake he does, because he's a lovely chap, and we need more people like that out here. But I know he's feeling the pressure right now, because he's going to get into a leading LMP2 car with all the eyes of the eyes of the world upon him.
There's a problem.
On track, yeah, exactly. It's the art car, the BMW. It's in more bother here, Liz.
Yeah, no, I think that car's had a lot of problems earlier. So they had something break in the rear of the car, I believe, earlier on. We saw the driver leaning underneath the car off the second chicane, I believe, or first chicane, I believe it was. They pitted the car, put it in the garage, and they have fixed it. But now it looks like there are more problems. So we don't really know what's maybe started off and has now become a bigger problem.
Well, apparently it was a puncture that actually turned into a bigger issue after they smacked into one of the curbs here. There are something called a banana feature as well, which I think the driver was talking about, just beyond the curbs. It's a kind of a little riser, a guider, if you like.
It's actually a very large curby guider thing that you don't want to run over.
Exactly, and I think they hit that and did some damage underneath. I'm just hoping it hasn't kind of come back to haunt them this one.
That will rip the car, the bottom of the car out of you, and they've done that like at Tetra Rouge. They've done it, you know, they've done it deliberately to try and stop people like on a qualifying lap, just completely cutting the inside of the corner and gaining like a second a lap. But unfortunately, what they haven't allowed for in I wouldn't say a typical ACO fashion, because that's slightly unfair, but they haven't allowed for genuine problems to occur to a car where they need runoff, and obviously it can still damage the car and turn a small problem into a big one.
Looking a little bit happier, Sebastian Bourdais, you can point in a moment, but while he's on screen, he was absolutely distraught in the arms of his teammates, Liz, and it's nice to see him looking. Gosh, he's going to burst into tears. Well, he's being reminded. I think sympathy at this moment is perhaps what you don't need.
He probably isn't any happier. He's just trying to put a good face on and be the professional that we all know that he is. But it is horrible to have your car go out, especially early on in a race. And the last thing you want to do is even be there anymore. I have to be honest, once the car's out, it's just painful to even be there in the race.
And coming back and into the action here, Liz, we've got the Spiker at long last now. A big tussle with Peter Dunbrek. Not sure whether he's on board. He's got to spin through an awful lot of timing screen, and unfortunately our back-end timing screen is missing. It just won't tune in. But nonetheless, big troubles for that team. They haven't been running overly competitively, have they? And then all of a sudden it goes from bad to worse.
Yeah, no, they had a lot of problems. They had sort of one after another. Unfortunately, I think Peter had a small collision with somebody and went off the circuit, and then he was trying to rejoin and ended up being collected by the Norma as it was coming around as well, which then did a lot of damage to that car. It's been in the garage for a long time now, and I'm really pleased they've got it back out, and I hope for their sake that they've got it put together, because it'd be great to have the Spiker finish.
I think so. People are very divided as to whether it's a nice looking car or not. I have to say I rather like it and always have done.
I like it too.
Yeah, I used to have big punch-ups with John Leslie, bless him. Sorry, David Leslie, beg your pardon. Who's sadly no longer with us. David absolutely did not like the car, didn't like the configuration of it, especially in its early form. I think they've kind of polished it a little bit. Now then, sorry.
You have to hand it to them, Carl. They've been at Le Mans pretty much every year, and initially they had that sort of strange, didn't they, aluminium look or steel look or whatever it was, and I just think that you've got to hand it to them. Every year they've been here with at least one car, and quite often with two, so they've been a very good support of the Le Mans 24 Hours as well as the Le Mans series itself.
Quality driver lineup as well.
Absolutely. Always professional drivers in the cars.
Very much so. There's so clearly there is money behind that effort as the Racing Lizards just get back and on course. They've been blowing hot and cold here over the last couple of seasons. 2 DNFs in 07 and 09, but success in other years. Always, Liz, a mighty team as well to watch out for.
They are. They've been such a strong team in the American Le Mans Series for absolutely years, as long as I've known the American Le Mans Series, and they seem to just not have had the best luck here at Le Mans lately, and I'd really like this race to come to them, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think they work hard, and Seth Neiman, team owner, he's always in the car, and because he loves it, he loves the sport, and he loves to be here, and it'd be nice for all of them to have a good finish finally.
It's an awful long way round for this rather attractive looking vehicle. I actually quite like it. Mark described it as an explosion in a paint shop. Apparently it's supposed to represent the dying embers of a firework.
Pretty close. Yeah.
It's pretty close to their situation at the moment, isn't it? Deary me, that's called getting a little bit wrong. And just look at the amount of debris, all this marbles that are coming back on the course, a lot of gravel as well, and that is very sharp in this part of the world. Sorry to keep reminding you of it, but it does cause quenches and has done throughout the week here. Everyone giving a very wide berth, apart from the P1s who are coming through thick and fast here. Map on the sheet getting very close. We'll take a break. Join us, and it doesn't look good, does it? No, not for the 7 car. Tom Christensen's on board, and wow, he just came round this little sequence of S's here and almost got into the back of the ARC car. That's safely away. It didn't hit him. Avoided tactics. It meant that Thomas ended up in the gravel here. Johnny, talk us through this one.
I mean, it was a difficult one. I mean, Andy Prio's in the BMW, as we've been seeing. He's been crawling back to the pits, and it's so unfortunate because he was on the right-hand side going into the Porsche curves. I think he was aware that the cars were coming behind him. It's very difficult, especially when you're going quickly, to actually judge how quickly these, slowly rather, how quickly these prototypes are catching you. And what he did was he went from the right to the left of the track to obviously give the cars coming behind the correct line through the Porsche curve so they could take the apex and lose no time whatsoever. Tom Christensen was coming in, turning in, saw the BMW moving across the line and was still thinking, right, I'll go around the outside of him, I'll go around the outside of him. At that point, you can't then tighten up and go down the inside of him, because the entry to the Porsche curves, there's a slight bump on turn in and you're carrying so much speed in there. If you try and tighten it up, you're going to spin the car.
Watch the bump.
You can just see there, I mean, at that point, it looks stupid. It looks like basically he should have just tightened up onto his right, but he already had the left-hand wheels on the blue on the outside of the curb. So it's so unfortunate, but it is literally just one of those things where Andy Priaulx was trying to do the right thing, but obviously in retrospect should have just stayed to the right. And Tom Christensen misjudging the fact that Andy was trying to get out of his way by going fully to the left-hand side of the circuit and wasn't expecting that either. So just really unlucky.
And it's such a high-speed corner, that entry to the Porsche curves. You know, it's fifth gear in most prototypes, so he would have been really going quickly and probably not himself even been able to judge how slow Andy was actually going.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
you know, there just isn't enough time to change your mind.
The only thing I would say, and I'm not in any way, who am I to ever say anything against Tom Christensen, 8-time Le Mans winner, but the only thing I would say is that the white flags were waving and in evidence, but I could see what he was thinking. He was turning in and thinking, this car is just going to be staying in the middle of the track all the way through. I'm going to go around the outside of him, and in a way that worked for the first time in that two professional drivers, one trying to do the right thing for the guy behind, and the guy behind thinking perhaps that the guy wasn't a professional driver or wasn't going to do the right thing for him. And it's just so unfortunate. I know both of them very well, in particular Andy Priaulx, and I know the last thing Andy would ever want is to compromise the race of the lead Audi, and just a crying shame. And my heart goes out to Dindo and Alan, as well as Tom and the whole Audi team, because obviously they've now lost in one of their strongest challenges. If there is any chance of winning this race, that one of them is out of it.
Well, here comes Wolfgang Ullrich on his way down undoubtedly to Andy Priaulx's pit. He does not look happy at all. This is going to be a difficult situation because, like you said, Johnny, they're both professional top drivers. The car number 7 has rejoined. It's on its way back to the pits, but this is going to lose Audi really valuable time, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that Dr. Ullrich is going down there at this moment in time, but obviously Charlie Lamb there, you're going to see talking to him, and they know each other from old. They're obviously good friends, and right now Dr. Ullrich is very, very annoyed, and I can understand why he is, but I genuinely, there was no deliberate anything deliberately wrong in that. Charlie's obviously not going to say anything, you know, it's not his place, he needs to dissipate it, but so unfortunate. The Audis are bulletproof, he's coming in pit lane right now, they'll put a new rear wing on it. He'll be back out in the race. They're not out of it yet, but they've lost a lot more time.
I think this is one of those situations when you have to just say, that's racing. These sort of things happen sometimes. It's very difficult when you have a slow-moving car on track, and I suppose both teams are going to have to do their best to get both cars back in action.
Yeah, I would say that, but you don't change lanes at the entry to the Porsche corners. I have to say, that's one thing you don't do. And I absolutely agree. It's a tough call, and my heart goes out to both Andy and
Justine is about to catch up with Dr. Wolfgang Ullrich. We'll see what he's got to say in a minute, but unusual for him to lose his cool like that. It's not as if Christensen's out of the race, it's compromised the race, yes, but he's going to get that car back. It's still Peugeot 1, 2, 3, Audi 4 and 5, and all this has been to the benefit of Adrian Fernandez on board the Aston Martin Lola number 007 car. That's moved up into 6th place, closing up on their finishing place of last year, Liz.
Yeah, and Adrian Fernandez doing such a stellar job in this car. He's just done a 3 minutes 27, which is a really good time at the moment. Adrian is such a nice man and has brought the Lowe's sponsorship to this team, and just fantastic to see him in a big car here at Le Mans and doing such a good job.
Sam Hancock on board the other Lola Aston Martin that's about to become 7th as well, so those two cars moving up the order very quickly. Sam Hancock getting his really big break this year at Le Mans. I was at Monza in 2003, was it, when he won the Monza 1,000 kilometres in the Gianni Lavaggi Ferrari Judd. I mean, that was a car to country of the 333 SP Judd. That's really the last time I saw Sam in competitive action.
Well, I actually shared my first Le Mans car with Sam, and he was so lovely, and he taught me so much, and actually taught me how to drive a prototype around Le Mans. So I have a strong place in my heart for Sam. I think he's a lovely guy, and I'm really thrilled for him to have this break, and he's been doing such a solid job job in this car, so I'd love to see them keep moving up the order.
And of course he also runs Drivers Club, giving people a chance to do track days, etc. So good luck to that. Right, let's just quickly check down in 13th then. It's Danny Watts that's going to become 12th in a minute, because Christensen is still tumbling down the order, and he has got still a lap in hand over Marco Werner in the Highcroft HPD car. Moving on down to GT1, we have at the moment Romain Grosjean still there in the number 60 car, the Ford. That's the car he crashed on Wednesday night. And Manuele Collard in the Corvette, one of the factory Corvettes, the 64 car. Those two cars at the moment split, the Antonio Garcia Corvette and Collard's Corvette split by Pierre Caffer. Well, joining us in the studio, of course, the voice of MotoGP. So we're just going to first of all see Sebastian Bourdais in action, still red-eyed from his crying session earlier.
Sorry about that. I think Sebastian Bourdais is actually being interviewed on one of our other channels at the moment, and I think in French as well. So that's a real shame. But he actually does look rather red-eyed, and well, as you've already seen. Anyway, back to the action.
So well into hour 5 now here at Le Mans, and looking at all the action here. Oh, blue flags there being flown for the Oreca car, blocking one of its sister factory cars at the moment. As we just said before then, Toby Moody, the voice of MotoGP. Welcome back to Eurosport. You joined us last year in the studio here. How's it all going from your point of view?
It's great. I'm sorry that I came over to the commentary box and it all seemed to go wrong for the number 7 Audi, but it's great to see that it's back out on track. It just shows you the efficiency that they've done down there, and they got the thing sorted pretty quickly. And a shame that Andy Priaulx got caught up in that accident that involved Tom Christensen to go off at the Portuguese. But you know, he's a 3-time world champion, once European touring car champion. So it's just luck of the draw, wasn't it? As you said, Johnny, it's the way that it is. But you got to feel for Bourdais after that. He didn't even get in the car, did he? He didn't even get in the car, did Bourdais?
No.
So it all fell through his hands like
pole position. Most of Le Mans turned out this weekend to see their local boy, and he never even got to drive. He said,
and you see Nick Leventis then getting into the Stracker Acura, and this is going to be Nick's first double stint. I've been told that Johnny Kane and Danny Watts are going to be doing triple stints, and that Nick's only going to be doing doubles. But even so, a double stint in that Acura. He's out on track for the first time in this Le Mans 24 Hours.
Well, he's got a 1-lap lead at the moment over Marco Werner, because that's the Leventis car. That's the 5th pit stop. Werner's got to make another one soon. That'll close the gap again. In fact, there he is. There is Werner going down the track.
Interesting that the HPD car came on screen there. There's some guys that I was standing next to during the week in the build-up to here, and they were, should we say, having a beer. And should we say that they were, that their voices were getting louder, but their voices were, we'd not come to Le Mans with Honda shirts. We come for a look. And there's also, being serious, there's also some very high-up Japanese people who've come from TTE, the former Toyota Formula 1 team, are having a look around this paddock as well. So there's all sorts of stuff that we might see, not only in this current golden age, guys, of this fantastic motor race between Audi and Peugeot, but if we get the Japanese returning to Le Mans, like we saw with the historic Group C race, you know, the memories for us all there earlier today, Mark and Johnny. I mean, you know, we'll just move on into another era.
Well, absolutely, and don't forget that Toyota actually were what brought Alan actually his opportunity to go into Formula 1 finally with them, because he was a stalwart in their sports car program when they were here before, and as was Martin Brundle, and that's what kind of led him into that fold and allowed him to actually become initially their Formula 1 test driver and then into Formula 1. So I'd love nothing better than to see someone like Toyota come back to sports cars.
Yeah, I mean, Also in the wings, McLaren with
going on straight on. Nick going straight on and goading the Porsche with him as he takes his own chicane through there.
He's supposed to have got his accidents out of the way on Wednesday, but anyway.
That's all right. I mean, if you're going to brake there, it's easy. You know, the tyres will still be slightly cold. If you're going to lose it under braking there, it's much better to abort and go straight than it is to try and make the corner.
Don't do it next time.
Mark, we just saw Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich go down to see Charlie Lamb at BMW. You don't see that kind of thing nowadays in this corporate world. I mean, you've been involved for however many years. Is that the pressure really beginning to boil over down there from Ingolstadt, down there and taking it out on Munich?
It is. I mean, I've never seen Wolfgang Ulrich lose his rag in that way. He was calculatingly cold, but once he got with Charlie Lamb, he really did lose it a bit, didn't he? He gave a good wigging, as you say. I'm sure we'll hear more about that. Toby, let's go change the subject for one moment. MotoGP, of course, everyone wondering what's going to happen with Valentino Rossi.
Well, Mark, we were here 3 weekends ago for the French Grand Prix, and last weekend in Mugello he obviously crashed. He had a terrible injury to his right leg, but they've taken him home already. All the operations have gone well after he's been in the hospital in Florence, and hopefully he's going to be okay. He had a Q&A that was published yesterday, and he said, well, maybe I'll come back in Brno, which is a race that happens in about mid-August, Mark, or late August, and he said, well, maybe I might not come back at all, because as he quite rightly says, it's not just a physical thing, you've got to be right in your head. Now, Mick Doohan won 5 World Championships on a 500cc evil bike, and having had a similar kind of injury. And look at Mark Webber, he's leading the Formula 1 World Championship, and only 18 months ago he'd had exactly the same injury that Valentino was just
Barry
last
Sheen
week.
kept getting back on as well.
Yes, he didn't win a championship once he got back on, but I know what you mean. But Mark Webber has really come back from nowhere, and that's great to see. So, but the difference with Mick was he was younger and he hadn't won a championship, and he maybe wasn't as rich down at the bank. Whereas some other people, you know, Valentino might think about it for a bit, but he's not going to leave on a stretcher, is he, Mark? Valentino Rossi will come back and he will win some more races, and that's great to hear. That's great to hopefully see.
We're going to take ourselves a commercial break, and we'll leave the question hanging in the air as to whether Valentino might one day come out of the Ducati. That would be lovely. But we're already feeling that. We will take that break, and we'll see you later. Yeah, 8 car in the hands of Lotterer, just pitting off P5 at the moment. Just the second placed Audi behind Romain Dumas. We left a question hanging in the air there, and Toby was desperate to answer. Will Valentino ever drive for Ducati? I know so many people would love to see it, and it kind of has this poetic thing about the end of a career. What a way to go if he could make that bike sing.
Well, whether or not he'll ride for Ducati isn't the matter. Personally, I think that he might just do it. Some inside the factory say that he won't, some say that he will. Only he knows. I think that the package that he's got at the moment is very good, and I think that actually I think he will stop riding MotoGP on a Yamaha. I've never ever believed any of this stuff that Rossi will go to Formula 1. And don't forget, guys, that it was Jean Alesi who started up the conversation in the winter saying, well, maybe he'll come and drive Le Mans with me this year. Instead, Jean Alesi has got Fishy in with him, but I actually believe that the relationship that Valentino Rossi has with the Ferrari factory will see him not in a Formula 1 car competitively. He might do some tests and such like, but I believe that he will go endurance racing such as we have here with a GT1 or a GT2 car. And moreover, don't forget that Fiat are in the International Rally Challenge with their cars.
Something else he's very keen on.
He's very keen on, and with the rules changing and with stuff that's going to move around and with new models coming forward, it'll be very interesting to see. That is personally where I think that Valentino Rossi will be. He'll be Le Mans endurance stuff, or he'll go IRC.
There you are. You had it. Toby Mooney dropping in to say hello. He's looking very tan, very fit, very lovely. Almost embarrassing. Embarrassingly chipper.
I know, it's terrible. He hasn't got 20 hours left. That's why he's looking so chipper.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Thanks to Toby. Romain Grosjean and the 60 Ford leading GT1, but had a bit of a bouncy moment out there. Clattered the underside. Other cars have suffered big time. He seems to have got away with it, Johnny.
Yeah, he did, and he banged. He actually blew the outbraked himself going into the second chicane. Blew the inside apex, went off, hit the little plastic pylons that are there, and then very nicely scooped one up into the air and landed it right in the path of the Drayson Lola that was arriving at speed. So that walloped into the front right of his splitter. I don't think it did any aerodynamic damage. damage, but you know, it could quite easily have taken one of the dive planes off, and then obviously that car would have been suffering with a reduction in front downforce. But yeah, that car seems to be a little bit in the wars today.
Yeah, the curbs are really taking prisoners today, Liz. It just seems that if you don't give them enough respect here, it could well just hobble your challenge.
Well, yeah, we've seen that happen already to the racing car there, and also to the BMW that we saw that went over the curves and then onto the banana strips, which are hugely damaging and did the underfloor of the car. But talking about the racing car, they were in the garage for a long time and were miles back, all the way down at the bottom. And then when Emanuele Pirro got into that car, he absolutely has pedalled it back onto the front page of our timing, which I have to say is very impressive. Did lap after lap in its best times that the car has done all weekend. And Emanuele, of course, the driver that has been here for the most amount of years of anybody here at the moment. He first did the Le Mans 24 Hours as a 19-year-old in, I believe, 1981, which is pretty cool. And here he is, seemingly having retired a couple of years ago, but back enjoying LMP1, which is just fantastic to see. And I haven't seen him with such a big smile on his face in years. And
we thought Stewie Hall was young when he started pedaling that car around. Johnny, it's been a difficult day. I'm just hoping that we're looking at the 60 car now, it looks to be reasonably well set.
Yes, I mean, considering some of the issues that they had early on, I mean, he's still going well. He's pushing it as hard as they can. They're obviously leading the LMGT1 class at the moment. Romain Grosjean's in the car. He's a class driver, as you all remember. He was obviously involved in Formula 1 last year with Renault, and he's a fantastic driver. And he's adapted, especially in the FIA GTs, incredibly quickly to these kind of cars, which actually is in no small way an indication of his talent, because I can tell you, when you're going from something like a single-seater, especially like a Formula 1 car with an incredibly amount of downforce and nimbleness of brake and turn-in, to get into one of these GT1 cars, I mean, they are real beasts to drive, and I drove one for 3 seasons, and they are hard cars to drive because you've got a combination of mechanical grip and aero grip, and the things just bounce through the corners, and you really know when you're on it in one of those things.
So it's really going to break my heart to see them go, to be honest. I love the GT1s. I think they're an absolute delight to watch, and just as the field is starting to just regain its confidence, looks like a bit of a loose back end there. We once again see one of the Ford GTs here just passing by the Salinas. Yeah,
they are fantastic cars to drive, and very, very tricky, difficult cars, especially around a circuit like this. They have so much power, but a lot of them can be very loose in a high-speed corner. And I know these particular cars have had a few problems throughout the season. A lot of the ones that have been running in the World GT1 series, I believe, had an ECU issue where they were issued a single ECU for all the cars, and tons of them have been having huge problems. So I'm actually pleased to see that most of them are still running and have been, for the most part, all right-ish, I guess. It's fair enough to say, but most of their issues have been accident-related. They've not all been ECU. So there was some train of thought and some worry from various people that were thinking perhaps they would just start falling by the wayside after about an hour, but so far that doesn't seem to be the case, Carlton.
No, just looking, we've got Scott Tucker on board the 14 car. It's just brought in by Christoph Albers, who's been doing some great work. Yes, Courtney Kane, of course, fell off the pit wall for this crew and damaged his shoulder. So they've had their sort of alternative parts of bad luck in the past, but bringing 2 cars here, racing the R10s, which to me, strangely, kind of look a little bit more advanced than the R15 Plus. I think the R15 Plus looks like some design kid got hold of it and decided to mix it with a wild boar or something along that nature.
You've got a vivid imagination, haven't you?
That's clearly why I'm here.
That's obviously what we all would have initially thought of, naturally.
Navigating from the J-Lot outfit. Now, this lot were in a bit of shame last year. They did hardly anything. I think they did 1 lap and went home. And if it hadn't been for some decent results in Japan, they may not actually be here at all. I think they automatically qualified to come here. I think if it had been down to an invitation, keep it steady. If it had come down to an invitation, they probably wouldn't have been invited after the shenanigans of last year.
Certainly a lot of people were a bit angry about them being invited back. There were a lot of teams that felt there were others that deserved it, or other teams that had worked harder and hadn't had such a disastrous year like they did last year. And I have to say I sort of agreed as well, but they are still running now. They've had a much better season this year so far. They did earn their place here, so I suppose we have to give them a chance, don't we, Johnny?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that you have to remember as well is that the ACO likes Le Mans to represent pretty much every major car manufacturer in the world, and obviously Lamborghini feature amongst those, and so it's also very important for them, and they take that into account when they're making their invitations to try and get as much a balance as they can across all the various manufacturers. Because if they just took the best teams and the fastest teams, you'd probably end up with almost a 2 or 3 make series in the pit lane. So I agree with you. It's nice to see a Lamborghini out there, and I know that some of my guests that are here actually spent a long time in front of the garage looking at the Lamborghini, just simply because they own the road car, and so they find it of interest regardless of whether it's quick or slow. Absolutely.
It is, of course, a new version of that Lamborghini as well this year, which I think is proving to be more reliable and definitely doing the job much more than we've seen in the past. I don't think I've ever seen the Lamborghini be competitive here. I've seen it be competitive in the GT1 series and in various other series. It's been very good, very quick, but certainly not here before. So it's nice to see them still running with really relatively small amounts of problems.
Yeah, I think it's been a big surprise to everybody that hasn't. Let's just have a quick look at what's going on at the top of the field. It's still Peugeot 123. Alex Wurz has just taken over the number 1 car, the car in which he won last year, of course. Nick Manassian in the number 2 car, and Wout Duval in the number 4 car. The 3 car long gone if you're joining us. Pedro Lamy had a blowout on the Mulsanne straight, which then turned into worse matters. He, in my view and view of many, tried to push that car too hard coming back and broke the front suspension. It went through the chassis out of the monocoque, and that was it. Audi Audi 4th and 5th, and the other Audi of Tom Christensen rejoining in 8th after a controversial coming together, or near coming together, between Tom Christensen and Andy Priaulx, 2 world champions, getting into each other. Just a couple of bits of news from the pits. Earlier on, you might remember Peter Dumbreck got involved in a fairly hefty accident with the 38 Norma. He was creeping back to the pits after an off at Indy. The Norma was then hit by an Audi, then hit Dumbreck, and both those cars are badly damaged. Only in the last couple of minutes has Tommy Coronel been able to get that Spiker back into the race. He's a long way down the order, but at least they've got it repaired and they are still running. The Matek girls in the Matek Ford, we believe they have got the car back out now. We're just trying to find it. But they spent a lot of time in the pits. Liz assures me that they are still running. Liz?
Yeah, they are still running. I'm not entirely sure what happened to them. I just know they were in pit lane for a long time. And then when they did rejoin, we saw something come up on the screen saying they had no front headlights, which in this series you do have to run with front headlights. It is one of the requirements. Even if you have one missing, you do have to come back to the pits and have it fixed. So they do appear to have that sorted, and they are running again, but definitely way down the order. But I have to say I was very impressed with their early on times, and Cindy Alleman was doing very impressive times, only a couple seconds off the others in the class, and they had been running in 4th and even 3rd place for a period of time. So, you know, I was pleased to see that, and I'm sorry they've had the problems, but hopefully they're going to keep it running and keep it going to the finish.
I've been interested to follow Cindy Alleman's career. She was in Formula BMW, and then I saw her racing in the German Formula 3 Championship 4 or 5 years ago, and good to see she's finally made it. Natasha Gashnang and Rael Frey here to Le Mans, the 23rd all-girl crew, just to remind everybody, since 1930. And some of those crews, great names, people like Kay Peter, Lella Lombardi, Lynn St James, Kathy Muller-Desiree Wilson. They were the last ones, and that pink car they raced here in 1991, that was racing again here today in the Group C race. That was brought back a lot of memories, that pink spice, for a lot of people. It
was nice to see that racing again with Richard Bateman behind the wheel, and someone who I know myself, who's friends with my father when he was still racing. So it was very exciting to see that car going.
Right, good. Just a quick update before we hand to Carlton. Young driver Aston Martin is just about out now again. It broke a left-hand drive shaft, which is why they lost the class lead, tumbled down the order, and I think at this very moment, let's just check where it is, it's fallen off out of the top 8, hasn't it? So I think that's in the hands at the moment of Thomas Enger.
And the 7 car is in the hands of Dindo Capello. Unfortunately for them, it's about 2.5 laps down on Alexander Wurz and the lead Peugeot, our lead car, wearing the number 1. There's a man who I think you were saying a little bit earlier, got very animated, got very upset with BMW, had stalked down the pit lane. I have actually seen him angry previously. It was in DTM, and getting very, very annoyed as well with Norbert Hauger at Mercedes.
Well, of course, he's also going to have a driver's debriefing of Alex Premat after this race, because as you know, Alex took 3 of the Audis out, including his own at the last ring last Sunday in the DTM. Apparently, he's been told you have to report to see Dr. Ulrich after Le Mans.
Yes, talk about standing on the naughty step. He's
not a man you want to upset.
No, absolutely not. He's going to have some serious explanation to do, and if he doesn't come up to scratch, I think that could be curtains. We'll see.
Here is the girly car.
Here it is. I'm not sure if that's PC, actually.
No, I don't think so either.
Anyway,
the all-girl car.
we are seeing this car, and it does look like they're about to wheel it back into the pits, which is not a good thing. So, unfortunately, I really don't know what happened to it earlier, but they did have a big problem. They were in the garage for a long
And there's
time.
the sister car. Was that PC as well? Sorry.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that might be all right. That might be acceptable, I think. But yes, that's the number 60 car. That car, I believe, has had some problems as well, but is back up and running, it seems, and doing all right at the moment.
Listen, I once got told off for calling it a ladies' car. Yes, it's a woman team, a female team, and that is that.
That's all right. We'll let you off.
Thank you very much.
By the way, the Baz Linders car we saw heavily shunted earlier on today, the S's, that has now been officially retired.
Mark, they've had trouble with their tub earlier on. They've had tub repairs throughout this weekend, and they're looking long and hard underneath. Driver's still in the car, which is something of a plus point here, but that is not what we need to see.
No, this is never a great feeling. You know, I've been there before where you're still in the car, you're strapped in, you're inside the garage, sitting there up on the jacks thinking, God, I hope I don't have to get out. I hope it's going to be a little repair.
I hope it's not my fault.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, I think in this case, like you said, the car's had a lot of problems already. They've had to do some tub repairs, so I think it's very possible it could be related to that.
Yeah, Mr. Vargas in the BMW, way down the order. I think they expected an awful lot more, particularly on their pace during qualification. And Mark, they're what, about 8th in class, something like that. It's been a rough ride for BMW, and you saw the art car in the hands of Andy Priaulx as well, really getting bullied out there.
Yeah, it seems to be the car. It's having all the bad luck, doesn't it, this year? You used to mention about the Rebellion tubs. Of course, the big rescue drama by Lola for both of those teams. They had to fly parts out from Huntingdon. Got here as well, didn't they do well? We're going for a break. We'll be back after this. Hopefully this Rebellion doesn't break. We'll be back live on Eurosport from Le Mans.
Check this out. Go for a ride. Get skyward. No tickets required. Unbelievable. That was the first bounce. It wasn't even over then. Had to come back over the next few curbs because it was in the middle of the chicane, and unfortunately on the wrong side of it. Had to go over a bump to get there. Rebel Racing must be absolutely wondering what on earth part of this course they're not going to hit. And they've actually got the 12 car in there. The 13 car is looking all right, but I think they may even bring that in for a check-up here.
I'll tell you who's got a big smile on his face about all this. Martin Bourrain of Lola Cars. He's here in the paddock. In fact, he's going to come and join us this evening, have a chat about next year's regulations. But I mean, he's watching all these Lolas having problems, and that's just so good for business.
I suppose it is. I never really thought of that. I think he probably wants them to do well rather than have to buy a new
keep them going.
Yeah.
Now, what I've just noticed is it looked like Rebellion Racing was standing there ready for this car to do a pit stop, and it's just gone past the pits.
He's clearly okay. That's fine.
But you know, they're going to have radios, so I'm not really sure what's happened there.
I think they were ready in case
primed,
he needed a late call. Basically, he went over there, thought the car feels terrible. He probably had a conversation along the lines of, oh my goodness, or something like that. And basically they all got ready just in case something failed on the approach, so they didn't have to go around again. But he's clearly happy, and away he goes. It was a free pass, that one, I think.
It's the other car that had problems. Another Lola was the signature Lola Aston Martin car. They had a fuel cell leak, and Lola had to get that from Huntingdon as well. And would you believe they got their graduate engineer Will Smith, who was about to leave for Le Mans by car, sent him down to Thornborough, jumped on the plane, brought the part over, gave it to him to fit it, thought, what a hero I am, and what's the next thing that happens? They said, right, can you go and make us all some tea, please?
And actually, Signature Plus actually chartered that plane specifically over. It was a little proper charter plane from Le Mans Airport over to pick up the man and the important piece.
So thank you to dailysportscar.com for that story. Good work by everyone there. Do have a look at the site, and they have been very, very helpful to us. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's precisely what I was just about to say, Mark. A great outfit, and if sports car racing is your thing, then you really need to sign up with dailysportscar.com because it keeps you in touch with everything globally, and they are right there.
And don't forget Eurosport.
Indeed. If you'd like to drop us a message, Mark's just going to go into the many calls that you've been putting in here. It's eurosport.co.uk. Click on the message boards, scroll down to Motorsports, and then click on Le Mans. The topic area, or the thread, is new ! Eurosport 2010 Le Mans Live. Now, we've had quite a bit of action going on. I think Martin has been dipping into this one because there's been so much happening. So if you have sent something and you've been thinking, well, I'm not going to send it again. We've had quite a few thousand in there, as far as I know. And so to save us actually digging so deep that we bury ourselves, maybe you'd like to post another question if you're feeling so inclined.
Yeah, we've got 7 pages up at the moment. Please don't start a new thread. Do what Carlton said. New Eurosport 2010 Le Mans Live. Stay on that thread, otherwise we won't pick up your messages.
Yeah, why not cut and paste what you may have sent earlier and just send it again. We'll get to it. Mark.
Yep, I'm just looking through at the moment, so we've...
Hello, Mark. Yep.
Yeah, we've got so many. He cannot wood for the trees thing.
Nothing like dropping me
so back down to Rebel and Racing here, and lots of discussion. I think they feel like they've got away with murder there.
They do, and nervous looks from Hugh Hayden there, who runs the team. Hugh's been involved in sports car racing for quite a few years now, and a really great team for him to get hold of and to look after. But certainly they are the last cars that needed to be doing some curb hopping today.
He has got
tub damage and all the trouble they've had.
He has got a very flat forehead from slapping it himself on a regular basis throughout this weekend, and I'm just glad he got away with it.
Now, this is the car we majored on earlier on. It managed to split the Aston Martins. This is the number 15 Collis Audi R10. Ollie Jarvis of Newmarket was at the wheel a bit earlier. Christian Backwood's on board now. It's slipped down a bit, down into 10th place, and unfortunately Christian Backwood, like Oliver Jarvis, had equipment stolen from the Collis garage. He lost overalls, 2 sets of overalls, also lost his bicycle.
If you see him on eBay, we want a name. Yeah, exactly. We're just watching the 7 car in Dindo Cabello's hands as well, just charging him down, and you can see a performance difference here. Fascinating.
Sorry, I thought you were carrying on.
Yes, well,
all right.
It
is fascinating, actually.
It is. You can see the development of these cars, and just clearly the performance difference.
They're so different as well. That's the interesting thing. They have changed a lot of things on the R15 that were on the R10, and I think that actually Audi thought they'd have a bigger difference from the R15 than they actually have, and it's interesting to see the two almost together, especially with someone like Dindo Capello at the wheel.
Yeah, well, Dindo is closing pretty quickly, and I don't think it'll be long before he makes his move. Peugeot haven't had things all their own way by any means, but they still fill the top 3 places here, don't forget, in LMP1. It's HPD that have been running so metronomically brilliantly out there. Warren Hughes in the Ginetta is 3rd in class, as you've already heard. As far as GT1 is concerned, Grosjean and Ford are still out there, despite their troubles a little bit earlier on, hitting the curbs, coming in for checks, all that kind of thing. The Corvette in the hands of Gustave, the 73 machine, that's GT1 1 and 2. It's Corvettes also making up the potential podium as we stand, with David Hart in the 72 car. When it comes to GT2, however, it's Pierre Caffer's Ferrari. They have come through, and you have to look a long way down before you find a Porsche in the hands of Mark Leave. They're used to success. They don't like this one little bit. They came here for revenge, but the 77 car is off the pace just for now.
Yeah, no, they are, and I think we're going to keep seeing things change it up in the GT2 class. We've got an amazing lineup of cars there, and at the moment it's Ferrari, Corvette, Porsche, Ferrari, Porsche. You know, it's a top lineup at the moment, and I think we're going to see that keep changing up. And the other one I think we may see a change in the leaderboard on is LMP2, because leading LMP2 at the moment is the HPD of Nick Leventis. Now, Nick, although he's a good driver and he does a good job, not quite on the pace of his fellow co-drivers. And I'm watching right now as Marco Werner is closing in the gap between 2nd and 1st place, and I think we could see that change.
I think it is. It's an absolutely fascinating one. He is Nick Leventis. What is he, 30 years of age? Sounds younger than that. He's a slight of man, big of pockets, and he's here and doing a great job. However, the Mark Werner is closing on him at the moment, and it may be HPD change around. Check this out. It's another excursion at exactly the same position, and this time it's the 92 Aston.
It's the JMW Motorsport car. I'm not sure who's in that at the moment, but having another little excursion over the same curves we saw the Rebellion Racing car going over the top of earlier. So that corner can really reel you in. You come off a very long fast straight off the Mulsanne, turning into that first chicane, and it's very tempting to just overcook it that little bit, and that middle portion is actually very slippery. So as you're going to turn and get back on the gas, it's very easy to lose it there.
Yeah, it was Bryce Miller. It was in his hands at that point. They're running way down at the moment. They're 46 second on it from the entire course, but in class, probably around about 10th at the moment, just off my screen.
So we're now starting to get into the very low sun, aren't we, Liz? And it gets difficult, particularly here in Indianapolis, as the driving directly into the sun. How difficult is that?
It is very difficult. You know, I drove into the dusk the last time I drove here, and it can be a fantastic time in the evenings. Everything looks amazing, but the tricky bit is that you can't have, if you're in an open cockpit car especially, you can't have a shaded visor like you'd like to have, because you're going into the night conceivably, unless the driver changes work otherwise. So usually what you do is end up giving yourself an extra bit of sort of visor strip. You do an extra strip down below, so it limits your vision a bit, but it really helps cut that sun down, and it is very tricky.
Tip your head, basically.
Yep, you just sort of lean yourself so that you can still see where you're going, and it is, like I say, it's an amazing time to drive at Le Mans, and I really enjoy it. The first stint into tonight is fabulous, but very tricky.
Well, I've got a question for you here from John Granger of Norwich, city dear to Carlton's heart, of course. How difficult is it for drivers and mechanics to stay awake? On Wednesday night, you showed us around the Audi paddock section on the 24-minute programme, said whether drivers sleep. Can the drivers sleep? And do you keep awake when you're in the car, or does the adrenaline do that for you?
I think being able to sleep as a driver at a 24-hour race, you have to teach yourself to do it. My first 24-hour race I did in Bathurst in Australia, and I did not sleep at all, and I was a mess the next day. But you have to sort of train yourself to rest, because you realise that you have to rest. So it is something you have to teach yourself to do almost. You can get some sleep because you are knackered after you've done a couple stints, but certainly the middle of the night stint is really difficult. I've never found it easy. You're standing in pit lane knowing you're about to get in a race car and go very, very fast at 4 in the morning, and you're just thinking, my gosh, I'm actually really tired. And so you know, I do things like I play certain music in my headphones and things like that to get myself fired up, but once you're in the car, you're off.
Just scrolling through the overall classification, that's how it seems, how it is at the moment. Peugeot's 1, 2 and 3. The Orica Matmut is effectively a factory 908, don't forget. As far as LMP2 is concerned, it's the HPDs, as we've already told you, and as you scroll further down you get into some of the other classes. We don't mean to dismiss them at all, because the battle here is going to rage on all night, and it can change. It's so very close. In fact, I'm just looking at it, and 3 laps covering what, around about 15 vehicles amongst the GTs, which is fantastic. So it's very close there, and anything can happen. You get a minor problem, everything will change.
Good. I've got another question here. This is Phil Crosby, who wants to give Trawden in Lancashire a shout. He says, loving your coverage, you're doing a great job. My question is, if the race stays dry throughout, what happens to all the rain tyres that have been made for the race?
Oh, they'll probably get saved for another day, I would have thought.
For a rainy day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, saved for a rainy day, so to speak. I mean, the tyres, you wouldn't really want to reuse a tyre that's been sitting for a long period of time, because the rubber does degrade a bit. But certainly in this case, you know, they'd be able to use it in a race in a couple of weeks or that sort of thing. So they would get used.
And if it does get beyond the degradation stage, that makes a rather attractive coffee table. They do have auctions here of used tyres, incidentally. Some of them for charity, some of them just to sort of get some money back into the team, to be honest. And some of them they just give away. You do see people actually walking away with these enormous bits of rubber, which they've apparently cut a glass top on. Makes a very attractive table.
So there we go. There's an option for the future, everybody.
One final question for the moment, again for Liz. It's from Carol M. She says, I'm loving all the commentary, but please, could you tell me what a tub is?
What a tub is?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. We tend to think everyone knows everything.
I suppose, yeah. Yep. Basically, the tub is what you build the race car off of. It is the starting point of the race car, I suppose you could say. So basically, it's the monocoque. It's the whole bit that you start all the other bits off of. So
imagine a bathtub and bolting everything to.
Exactly. Yeah. Well done, Carlton. So essentially, most teams, you'll hear them talking about saying, well, as long as the tub isn't damaged, we can rebuild it. But normally, what they say is once the tub has had extensive damage, that's when you scrap the car. So generally speaking, that's when we see the people actually giving up, unless it's a very minor damage, which is what we saw to the Rebellion car, which was just a small hole, I think they'd had into the tub, which can be repaired. But you know, generally speaking, if you can hang on to that, you can rebuild the race car.
And if suspension's ripped off the tub, then it's day done, isn't it?
Of course.
Seen that
but that's a huge hole.
Number 3 Peugeot, that's it.
Yes, of course.
Correct, which causes tears to Frenchmen of normally fortitudinous stature, such as Sebastien Bourdais.
And I'm afraid I'm not a car builder, so I can't give a more incisive description than that.
You can't. She's written down the word fortitudinous, by the way.
Right, Rob Bell we just talked about a few minutes ago with the JMW Aston Martin, the Dunlop car. He had problems. He got oil on the windscreen, he said, as he left the pits, and then a lot more. The hard line to the power steering had fractured. I couldn't see anything. I was coming around at 40 miles per hour, belts loosened, to look around the screen, and then went off at Indianapolis because I couldn't see. The car's back in the pits, is being repaired, and I think probably since we've had that information, we've seen the car back on track, haven't we?
I think we have, yes. Yeah. And actually, we were just talking about the low lighting problem, and certainly that would have been affecting him as well, especially with oil spatter on the car. That's a really difficult situation to be in. I've been there myself, and it's almost tempting to run the wipers, but that's going to make it even worse. But it is really difficult. Sometimes you have to pit and get it cleaned, and it seems like a silly thing to pit for, but visibility is important in a race car, funnily enough.
So the Ford car just tracking with the Matmut machine. Excuse me, I know a lot of you love the livery on this car. It's sort of Mondrianesque, I think, if you're into your artists. Dutchman did Cubism. Anyway, so a heavily nicked style throughout motorsport. I think Toyota raced with a little bit of that colouring at one time. Matmut decided to adopt it in France, which is why it's that livery. Look at Broadway Boogie Woogie on Google and you'll see where they lifted the pattern colours from. There you go, you learn everything here. We're going to take ourselves a short commercial break and we'll be back live on Eurosport 2 as we are in just a few moments time. Don't forget that web page or web board. We'll have a look while we're on the break.
Our live coverage here from Le Mans. We're watching the number 12 car, the Rebellion car, which at the moment is down in 35th place. It was 35th, now 36th. That's Nicolas Prost, son of Alain, taking the car back out. He's just had a big problem starting that in the pits. And Liz, just watching that, you said, you're always relieved when it does fire up.
Oh no, I was just saying that I had that problem in the Courage that I drove here in 2007. We seemed to have an ongoing starter motor problem, and every time you'd fire it up in pit lane, you think, oh, excellent, it started. Because if not, there was always a little bit of drama there, because one of the rules in Le Mans racing is that you must start the car on your own as the driver. You cannot have the team bump start you or hook a battery up to it or anything. You must be able to fire the vehicle on your own. And so that's an issue, really.
Lead petrol car at the moment is the 007, the Lola. It's Premat there. It's great to see Liz punching the air. She's clearly happy about it. 3 Aston Martins in the top 10. That's great news as well. Their program is going to come in-house, according to Dave Richards, provided that the regulations just even the field a little bit, because clearly they've got petrol in mind. They don't want to go down the diesel route, and they're not that delighted about the performance difference between the diesels and the petrol driven cars. They may be running in 6th place, but in terms of their lap times, it's around about 7 seconds a lap, and by the time that you spin that out over 24 hours, I mean, they're a couple of laps down already. They've got their own separate race, haven't they, Liz? They're going for the petrol class here, which is an unofficial class within LMP1.
Well, and I may upset some people here, but I actually really do think these classes should be split. I think we've got quite a few years going now. There's, no matter what they say they're trying to do to equalize them, they aren't equal. End of story. And I think it's really unfortunate, because you're looking at phenomenal drivers, phenomenal teams, tip-top in the petrol class and the diesel class. So why should a petrol class team and cars that are at that level have to race for the best, being like 8th or 6th or 7th?
And why should they just keep funding it?
Exactly. Why should they come back?
And that's precisely what the likes of Dave Richards are saying to the ACO here. And they want the changes to level the playing field. I just wonder whether it's going to take something like the end of diesel technology within this wonderful sport that we love so much to actually just finally put that to bed.
Yeah, but even taking us a step further, Liz, some of our contributors here are saying, why aren't there separate classes for Peugeot and Audi now?
Well, I don't know, because if you split the diesel and the petrol, you essentially would be giving them their own class. They'd be racing against each other, and already we're seeing it. It's the attrition rate's already starting to happen. We've got a Peugeot out. Part of sports car racing is that you have to last to the finish. So we may see that come around for Audi still. But I can see where people are saying that.
It shouldn't have to be a rarity though, should it, that petrol cars win? And that's the point. Vanina Ixford just tracking her. Of course, she's in her 6th visit. We find out. I think we said 5 earlier on. 6th visit, and she's in her 6th different car as well. Yeah. And how many times did Jackie win it?
6 times.
There we are. Oh, 3 sixes. We better add one quickly.
Right, couple more probably for the marker of doom switch. And another
before
one
you
at the
hit
moment.
it, look at this. That is doomed, is it not? Because if that doesn't get put out rather quickly, that looks like it may well be terminal, Liz.
Yeah, that does not look good, and she's got to get, whoever that is, they've got to get out quick. That is Natasha Gachna, and I've been in a flaming car before, and it is not a nice situation.
Can't see anything at this point.
No, absolutely. She just needs to get out, and she's actually going to have to go out the side door, because I don't think she can get that door open.
She's got to get across the vehicle, and it's full of all kinds of struts here.
She's getting out.
She's all right.
She's made it, but that, oh goodness me, she will have had breath issues as well, because she will have had to take off any kind of supplies that she's got and get out of that. She'll be coughing and spluttering. But that car does not look good. It's not been a good race for Ford, has it?
It's hopefully not gotten too much smoke into the cockpit yet. A lot of these situations when they're burning out at the back like that, when you stop, the smoke engulfs the car.
There is a
not so
firewall,
much inside. Yeah, it's not that bad, but it is very stressful. It's very scary as a driver, because you sort of panic at that moment and you forget to undo your belts and you're thinking, God, I'm going to get out. So it is a little bit wild, but it's very unfortunate for them. They've worked really hard.
Well, just news for you. Well, news is what you're going to get if you stay on Eurosport 2. And we have a whiteout here with the smoke from that GT Ford here, unfortunately. It looks like it's been dealt with good and proper. However, the 61 car is looking a bit second-hand. If you want to continue coverage with Le Mans, you will have to go to Eurosport International. We think British are actually staying put. But you will have to go fishing within the Eurosport family to find us. But we will stay live here. We're just bidding a little fond farewell to Eurosport 2 just for now. Welcome back. We just had drama here at Le Mans, and if you're only just joining us, Natasha Gachna, the Swiss on board the Matec competition Ford GT, she was ablaze and has brought the car up towards the barriers and couldn't open the door on her side of the car. She managed to get out, but she was injured coming into this race, don't forget, with a leg problem. And so she had to go across the car and essentially unstrap herself, crawl through a very tight area, and she's not a small woman. She's big of stature, is Natasha. And here is her vehicle, and the ambulance has come, or will be coming, I imagine, because it appeared that the cockpit had, the firewall had been bypassed or infiltrated or failed in some way. Finally, it must have been an engine fire real good and proper there, because when she opened the door, it was billowing, wasn't it, Liz?
It was. It did not look nice at all, and we don't really know what has caused that fire. She did a great job to get it off the racing circuit and stop the car, and she was able to get out.
That's a paramedic.
She's of course very sore anyway from this accident, so undoubtedly they saw her limping out of the car as well, but it did appear to have a lot of smoke come out of the car, and oh, smoke inside a race car is just horrible. I mean, it is an awful smoke anyway. It's a different sort of smoke, especially when it melts down the wiring looms and everything. It's really unpleasant. So I hope she's all right. She seemed all right, just sore, but hopefully she's not taken in too much of that smoke.
Even if she had been on an oxygen feed or something like that, it would have had to all been disconnected to get across the vehicle to get out. So she's probably a little bit coffee at the moment, and I just hope she's okay. She did hobble away. The hobble was not because of the incident. That's an injury she carried to actually get here. So she was actually racing injured with a splint or a brace of some sort.
Yeah, I think it was, and I think they've had a really difficult time here. They've had some problems with the car, and they'd been doing some really competitive times, which was great. So I was really pleased to see that. But certainly this is not the way they would want to finish their first Le Mans. And I just question if maybe those ECU issues that they've been, that a lot of these GT1 cars have been having all year. I question if perhaps that had something to do with this, because it did look to be like some major failure in there, and I do wonder if that's starting to have a bit of an attrition rate.
Yeah, we won't mention any names, but Magneti Morelli have been supplying them to all the World FI GT Championship, but everybody except Labra wanted to change those units for this weekend for reliability, but Labra blocked it, and like in Formula 1, if one team doesn't agree, then it doesn't happen. We talked earlier about Lola, and we've been so impressed with the progress of the Lola Aston Martins here, and the 3 cars, the 2 Gulf cars and the signature car. Just joining us now is the boss of Lola, Martin Brain. Martin, good after evening.
Good evening, Mark.
Still daylight.
It's been a long day.
Martin, you must be absolutely delighted to see your cars again running so high up the order. We're looking at 6th, 7th, and 6th, 8th, and 10th at the moment.
10th and 11th.
10th and 11th, yeah. So
Yes, of course I am, but of course it's early days also, and there's a lot of running to be done tonight, again tomorrow, and it's tomorrow around noon when the sun is up, and if it's going to be dry, well then it's at that time that stresses come on all the components that have lasted the first 20 hours.
Martin, you joined us last year in the commentary box, and sadly at that time you just had your Formula One bid turned down, but much happier times now, because you are already working towards next year's LMP1 regulations, I believe. How much can you tell us about Nola's plans?
I'm going to be a bit boring at the moment. We are still digesting, and in fact we were discussing up until yesterday, and we're still hoping to have another chat with the ACO tomorrow. So we're still digesting what's happening, and we're going to try and work with them, because obviously they're making changes that they feel are necessary, and they have listened to a lot of things that the teams, not just us, the manufacturers and the drivers have been saying. So it's a wonderful thing. But there's still a couple of things that we need to get cleared to know where we're going next year. Whatever happens, we're going to be here.
I mean, you do have clout. You are the most represented manufacturer here at Le Mans this year, so you can call the shots to a certain extent.
Well, it's yes, that's great. 77 was the last time we had 10 cars here, and I was here, I was driving. And the other thing, Mark, it's very boring this, but it is 50 years since the first Lola appeared here in Mark 1 back in 1960.
Right.
So,
Wow.
That's been a bit overlooked, I think.
I'm still wearing my 50th
excellent.
anniversary. It works for today as well.
A bit overlooked, perhaps, in all the celebrations for Jaguar and Corvette, but congratulations on that. And I mean, everyone loves Lola. You're one of the true British manufacturers. I mean, not just race car manufacturers, but probably you and Morgan are the